I'm spread between business school, sociology, and the medical school, so this kind of fits straight into what Michael was telling you about. And as well, please connect with me. I have a website where you find all my information, LinkedIn accounts and everything, because again, as Michael said, it is important to be social. And I know that Michael Bidu wanted this session to be educational, so I think I went a bit too far with it. In 1897, we had the first reported encounter of telemedicine. So that was a diagnosis over the phone of a case of croup cough. So this will take us a while, I guess, but this is my version of a joke. But you can find, you can find the history of digital health. I've written, a brief one. You can find it on my website. Now, I want to talk to you about how digital health became a field on its own, a market on its own. Because a field emerges when others fail to adapt, to respond to the existing needs, to opportunities or innovation. And that's how digital health took life in between health-related fields and consumer technology. So on one side we have thickness of ties, skepticism, sometimes paternalism. On the other side we have autonomy, ingenuity, and speed. And that's a busy slide, I didn't make this. No, but here we are talking about telemedicine again, over 100 years later. So not much really happened since there was a hope with it, with the phone, since 1897. So we have the same discussions, just the phone is a bit different. Digital health basically took life first with a sense of playing. A lot of innovation came from the industry, and it filled up some spaces that are not regulated. For instance, peer-to-peer resources, patients to patients, also fitness and wellness, and that's how, in the last few years we saw health stretch out to fitness and wellness. The second phase, people started questioning if these technologies are actually valuable, if they could do something good for healthcare. And that's when some very important actors came into the game, and of course the states in many instances, like regulators and payers, but especially researchers and academic players, because they have a social license for credibility and expert opinion, and their involvement basically vetted the use of technology, digital technology in healthcare. And now we are in a mobilization phase. I guess everybody understood that this is the future. Healthcare is not sustainable. Something has to be done. People understood the potential of it, and so everybody's in the game in a way, but they are still figuring out how to bring this technology, to bring it more into healthcare. I hope you had breakfast in the morning, because I didn't. Various players come into this field, and they have their own vantage points. They have their own logics, meaning their own values, knowledge, preferences, and even biases. And there are 5 basic framings, basic logics in digital health right now. In the middle row here, I listed some of their representatives, and of course in real life, there is a bit more. The real life is a bit more messy. For instance, pharma is dominated by medical profession logic as well as by the state logic and the market logic. So for the state, for instance, we have regulators and payers. For the market, we have all colors, from herbal producers, app publishers to pharma, biotech, insurers. Everybody is in the game now. For the citizen logic, we have patients and carers, basically people. For the medical profession, we have physicians and non-physician personnel. And for the science last, we have researchers and academics. But only having a peak at their focus of attention is not that difficult to see that there are some tensions between these logics. And I'm not going to dig too much into this. Now in the middle row, you see some of the basic philosophies of these logics. And I'm going to talk about, related to Michael's presentation as well. It's easier to dig in. In science, we have, individualism in a way, and now patients demand to be part of research. The mobilization of so many, different players brought to light various issues in digital health. And that's why often, when you create a solution in digital health here, you reveal or create tensions elsewhere. A field emerges initially around an issue as an effort to redefine a greater good. And in digital health, we see a silent rise of an empowered patient. And that, in fact, is a paradigm shift towards a better, more convenient, and more comprehensive healthcare. Now, we'll take a test drive, having the many players in mind. I'm going to show you a few images, and I'm going to ask you to think who would be more likely to perceive the patients like that. Patients, insurers, carers. What about this one? And here, pharma, patients for home testing. And the last one here, patients for advocacy, resources, but also researchers for access to big data, and even the states when it comes to mobility of patients and so on. The point is that for most images, not only one stakeholder comes to mind, not only one player. And that is because the empowered patient is not the result of an emancipation of the patient alone. There are multiple negotiating points between the players and related to empowering patients, and I'm listing here only a few. I'm using traffic light colors to show with green support, with red challenge, with yellow ambivalence, and gray actually means that that particular logic is not really into the matter. Now, having a good understanding of the players allows you to build in contingencies and to see where the support is. Perhaps this is what Steve Jobs referred to, zooming out, to be able to zoom in, right, with your own dots, your own business. And that's important because each strategic decision, each choice for product or service design is in fact a bet against several potential futures. It does not only involve, assumes roles and practices, it assumes that technology, economy, science, society, and even morality will go a certain way. And that's why the empowered patient is still in the making, but also is the doctor right now, the insurer, or other players. So these roles are in the making. The future of digital health relies not only on technology, as you saw, the case of the telephone, but mainly on the capacity of these players, of you basically, to negotiate these emerging roles. Now, I'm sorry to get back to this one, so I'm going to clean it up. Basically, in the first phase, we saw a lot of innovation, so we had a critical mass of innovation in digital health, enough to draw attention to it. Then we had a critical insignificant mass because the involvement of the states and researchers, which brought a bit more weight and credibility to these solutions. And now what is important, and again getting back to what Michael said as well, connections and synergies. Basically, mind the gap, connect, and dare to innovate. And just a few words about each. With Mind the Gap, I'm gonna use a quote from Tim Ferriss, Vice President of Partners Healthcare in the US. And he said, most of the time, people with good ideas come in, but they have so little understanding of the context of healthcare that they don't understand all the reason of why it's not going to be successful. So the point is, dissect your business and imagine your users in their context. So maybe think in terms of externalities. This was a very useful word in economy for a while, meaning that you don't end up thinking about your users, you think about other players that are involved with your users and that not that obvious to you. And I want to give you an example. Theranos, you might be familiar with this company, is again a US company that offers liberates the lab, basically. It offers very painless, very convenient, very cheap blood tests. And they don't only make it easy for the patients, they also make it easy for doctors to integrate with them. So that's how they close the loop between the patients and the doctors. And you would wonder why these all subtleties are very useful to you when you have these nice graphs that show you, the evolution of technology. This is a Gardner graph for emerging technologies, was published in 2015. So there are many subtleties when it comes to technology, if it's gonna actually fly or not in a certain area. And you can use, these sort of matrices. Probably better yet to use stakeholders instead of, logics, as I explained them to you. And for this is the case for telemedicine. I'm going to let you fill in the gaps and just show you that there are different negotiating points, different changes that happen with telemedicine. So you can, think about what players are important in this matter, who is supporting you. Okay. And Connect, again, Michael said that, and I give you an example here, French company, you can see that they don't try to do everything on your own. Connect because you accelerate learning and also the time to market if you are a technology solution first. This is another example of My Sugar, a company from Austria. Since 2010 until now they have 12 partners already, and look at the range of solutions they offer. And finally, dare to innovate, because it's a great time. There are many opportunities now coming in digital health. And last, I remind you that if you want to know more about the history of digital health, you can check it out on our website. So I think I'm going to close in with that.
Okay.